Stoicism is available to everyone, regardless of their social class, financial status, skin color, sexual orientation, or level of intelligence. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, lived as a slave for over 30 years before gaining his freedom. Similarly, Marcus Aurelius, an emperor belonging to one of Rome's wealthiest families, embraced Stoicism in his pursuit of virtue and self-control. Both individuals combated vices, liberating themselves from lust, greed, lack of self-control, and anxiety. They disciplined their minds to confront fears and worries within their control, accepting and remaining indifferent to matters beyond their control, such as tomorrow's weather. You cannot control the actions of others, societal judgments, or others' opinions about you. The only thing within your control is yourself, your will, intentions, and actions. Stoicism teaches us to do what must be done regardless of circumstances, to assume full moral responsibility for our actions, and to discipline and train our emotions to act in ways that avoid shame, dishonor, and self-indulgence, all feelings rooted in vices. Marcus Aurelius' life demonstrates how Stoicism can guide us in combating vices and leading us on the path of virtue. Let's delve deeply into its context and wisdom to confront vices before proceeding with the lessons of this video. Before we continue, please comment on your vice and the date you are watching this video. This simple declaration is a powerful step of courage to break any vice that may affect your life. Put it on your Google agenda or your phone's calendar to revisit this video and assess the progress you've made. Truly commit to this transformation. Those who do not radiate light create their own darkness. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, emperor from AD 161 to AD 180, possessed absolute power over the world for 19 years. Despite his authority, he resisted temptations and coped with life's difficulties without succumbing to vices. His disciplined life serves as an example of how we can resist temptations and handle life's circumstances without surrendering or succumbing to vices. We all have a rational nature that allows us to control our emotions, behavior, actions, and relationships with others. Marcus Aurelius disciplined himself for 19 years, writing to maintain and pursue dignified conduct in his diary, later published as Meditations. In this diary, we base our discussion on vices and how they imprison us. Inoffensive vices are like a silent elephant in the room. They can go unnoticed until they become harmful. These vices can reveal themselves detrimentally when least expected. This is a powerful lesson about how we must remain vigilant against the vices lurking in our lives. Even if they seem harmless, such as shopping to distress, watching pornography, complaining about work, criticizing our spouse or family member, procrastinating, consuming fast food, excessive coffee intake, spending hours on social media, and inevitably comparing our lives to perfect ones posted online. These seemingly innocuous actions can silently shackle us long before we recognize them as vices. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Thieves, perverts, murderers, and tyrants gather for your inspection." Marcus Aurelius warns us about a dangerous path that many humans tread by giving prominence to vices in their lives. These words resonate as a warning, since vices can be true thieves of virtue and happiness. When you allow fleeting and harmful pleasures to dominate your life, such as indulging in self-destructive behaviors or indulgences, you are unwittingly paving a path to your own moral ruin. Do not let this trap engulf you. Start by making choices that lead you to success and lasting happiness. The relentless pursuit of momentary pleasures often leads us to perdition. If you only feel relieved and happy in life when you shop, spending money on unnecessary things, you are conditioning your happiness to the act of buying. If you rely on pornography as your sole source of sexual satisfaction and feeling loved, it becomes challenging to establish emotional connections and build healthy relationships in the real world with real people. If you need multiple cups of coffee throughout the day to concentrate, you are supporting your productivity on caffeine, even though your mind and body have intrinsic capacity to focus and produce without it. If you engage in a constant cycle of criticism and complaints, you end up developing a habit in this behavior. Consequently, in any environment and situation, your brain will automatically seek reasons to complain or criticize, feeding this destructive pattern. Marcus Aurelius advises us to ask ourselves, what is my defect that most resembles the one I'm about to criticize? Criticism and complaining are among the most silent and destructive vices. When you constantly avoid difficult tasks, such as studying for an exam or completing a project, in favor of easier and far less productive activities, you diminish your ability to face life's adversities and demands. The more dependent you become on fast food, the harder it is for you to change your habits and become a healthy person. If you spend too much time on social media, especially comparing your life to others and feeling inadequate, it can negatively affect self-esteem and mental well-being. This quest for validation on social media can become addictive and harmful to mental health. The danger of vices lies in the fact that they seduce us with fleeting promises of satisfaction, and by doing so, we feel incredibly good for a short period. But in the end, they leave a trail of devastation, corroding the ability to live a virtuous and meaningful life. Pleasure can turn into punishment, and self-discipline stands out as a powerful tool to combat this trap. It guides us as a determined ally in the fight against vices, helping us maintain balance and achieve a healthier and virtuous way of life. According to Marcus Aurelius, dig within, there lies the wellspring of good. Ever dig, and it will ever flow. Self-discipline is undoubtedly a challenging journey. However, it is crucial to understand that self-control is inherently linked to the ability to resist temptation. When we connect the temptation of vice with its negative consequences, it loses some of its seductive power. This means recognizing that giving in to vices often brings far worse results than resisting them. Now, think of a vice you possess, and try to list the results of always giving in to it. Take your notebook on your phone or a piece of paper and divide it into 2 columns, one for secondary benefits and the other for harmful results. Secondary benefits are like small rewards that vice offers us. For example, by procrastinating a task, you may gain some free time, receive attention from someone, even if it's just to remind you of the delay, or even avoid significant responsibilities and commitments. Negative results include not achieving your goals, never finishing anything you start, and losing self-confidence. After filling in the 2 columns, you will realize that no matter how seemingly harmless vices offer fleeting and momentary rewards, these rewards do not compare to the sense of accomplishment that could be achieved if you were to eliminate them. Thinking this way, the act of self-control becomes a source of satisfaction and fulfillment, while temptation becomes a burden of regret and remorse. Stoicism teaches us to be rational, meaning to be capable of exercising reason in a constant battle against vices. This leads us to resist before impulsively responding and reacting with compulsive behavior to anything that happens to us. We can think and decide our actions. The Stoics refer to this ability as dominion, as it allows us to evaluate our thoughts, feelings, and impulses, discerning between those that are good or bad, healthy or unhealthy. Acting based on this evaluation elevates us to the status of rational beings capable of making conscious and wise choices, breaking the chains of vices and automatic responses. Being trapped by vices is not easy, but remember that stronger than any trigger is your ability to think. Remember that it is impossible for something to happen without your consent. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, "Today I escaped from the circumstances, or better yet, I rejected them, for they were not outside me but within my own assumptions." No event or circumstance in itself has the power to govern our lives without our permission. This quote from Marcus Aurelius is a reminder that we are the masters of our choices and reactions. The practice of Stoicism teaches us to identify what is within our control and what is not under our control. First, we need to differentiate what is under our control from what is not under our control. According to us, we are responsible for what we can control. our desires, intentions, actions, and how we react to what happens to us. However, we have the freedom and control to reject any environment and situations that lead us to fall into vice. For example, if you decide to quit smoking and end the nicotine addiction, you cannot demand that others stop smoking. That is not within your control, but you can choose not to frequent an environment where everyone smokes all the time to avoid giving into temptation. That is within your control. You have power over your mind, not over external events. Recognizing this, you will find strength. There comes a time when it is necessary to withdraw from environments, situations, and even friendships that insist on dragging you down. You either let go or remain connected to these situations, always trapped in your vices. Stick to what is in front of you: idea, action, expression. Understanding this, we can reject the influence of external assumptions, resist the temptations of vices, and take control of our own lives. Understanding the dichotomy of control is relatively simple, but its practice in daily life can be challenging and compassionate. Therefore, if you succumb to temptation, make a small mistake, or even commit a big blunder, understand that it does not change or compromise the philosophy you know. This does not mean that your ability to make rational choices has disappeared forever. On the contrary, you have temporarily forgotten it. When returning to old vices, keep in mind that the tools and goals of change are not shaken by the turbulence of the moment. Take a break, regain control over yourself. It is waiting for you. In the words of Epictetus, the soul is like a bowl of water, and our impressions are like the rays of light that fall upon it. When the water is disturbed, it seems that the light itself is also moving, but it is not. So when a person loses self-control, it is not their abilities and virtues that are disturbed, but the spirit in which they exist. And when the spirit calms down, these things also calm down. It is important to admit when we make a mistake or fail in trying to abandon our vices. However, even more important is to lift our heads and move forward. We cannot dwell in guilt. Guilt and remorse can easily turn into a mental trap, an internal prison that prevents us from moving forward. For example, when you break your diet or end up overeating and spend hours lamenting, trapped in the error, do not let guilt and remorse become your new cycle of vice. This is not self-deception. It is not pretending that the failure did not happen, but rather assuming that it did. Think and reflect on what environment led you to fail, and why you gave in once again. Then take responsibility and move forward, as Marcus Aurelius teaches us. Regain your senses, reconnect, and wake up once again. Now that you have realized that only your dreams were bothering you, see this reality as you see your dreams: deep vices. Abandoning vices, whether they are harmless or profound, is challenging and requires a long journey. If you have been smoking for 15 years, do not expect to quit smoking in a day when you wake up determined. Unfortunately, determination alone, without strategy, planning, and action, will not bring results. Nothing is created suddenly. Using the words of Epictetus, calculate the time you have maintained this vice in days. For example, if you have been smoking for 15 years, that's 5,175 days. Maintaining a habit for this long means it is completely ingrained. So do not delude yourself into thinking that just a declaration in front of the mirror will make you stop and never fall into temptation again. Commit, but start acting. Begin by mapping your vices. What do you do before practicing? For example, in the case of smoking, you usually smoke after lunch. You already know that your trigger is finishing lunch. So change your activity. Take a walk, do some quick exercise, anything to break that pattern of your habit. By mapping your habits, you have in your hands the triggers that precede and follow your vices, making it easier to avoid them. Create a new routine that breaks your pattern of falling into vices. Of course, there are deeper vices, such as illicit drugs, for example, and unfortunately, this video does not have the power to make you stop using them. That is up to you. As Marcus Aurelius said, The happiness of man depends upon himself. It is easy to confuse our image with our weaknesses, but we are not our vices. Stoicism encourages us to live in pursuit of virtue and to be present to live our lives with dignity. When we give up and accept vice, we not only lose but also miss out on gaining self-respect, a family, financial stability, and the opportunity to showcase our gifts and talents to the world. As a final reflection on how to be greater than our vices, I want to leave these words. Enough of this miserable and lamentable life. Stop playing. Why are you troubled? What is new here? What is so disconcerting? Look at the cause closely. Would it be the very question itself? Then look at that. There is nothing else to see. However, by the gods, doing this right now makes you more straightforward and kind. It's the same whether you have examined these things for 100 years or just for 3. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Character is the disposition to accept responsibility for one's own life. It is the source from which self-love springs." Marcus is urging us not to waste time complaining about what we do not understand or how things happen. We have to stop playing and take ownership of our lives. Character can be developed, and when it is, the result is self-respect. But that means starting and taking these things seriously, not later, not after organizing your head or your life, but now, while living. Taking responsibility is the first step. Being negligent and devoid of character is the worst of all destinies. Living without self-love is spending life yielding to all desires. We can sum up the sins by action, omission, betrayals of trust, and all the subtly broken promises, gifts irreversibly wasted by laziness, cowardice, or carelessness. You are better than that. And if you like this video, do not forget to share it with a friend who needs it. Help us spread this ancient knowledge. Now, to learn a little more about Stoicism, be sure to check out our complete playlist that is appearing on your left. Or if you prefer, watch the latest video from the channel on your right. Thank you for watching.